The whispering corn. When I was 10 years old, I spent a summer at my grandparents' farm in rural Iowa. My parents had just finalized their divorce, and it was decided, without much say from me, that I'd be better off in the fresh air away from the shouting and silence of home. Grandma and Grandpa lived on a sprawling piece of land bordered on 3 sides by woods and on the 4th by an endless field of corn. The house was an old Victorian with creaking floorboards, a wraparound porch, and a weather vane that squeaked whenever the wind shifted. It looked like the kind of house you'd see on the cover of a ghost story paperback. I hadn't been there since I was 6, so everything seemed larger and stranger than I remembered. The barn loomed like a red cathedral in the distance, and the silo beside it reminded me of a lighthouse, except instead of warning ships, it stood over an ocean of corn. On my second night, after dinner, Grandpa sat in his faded recliner, drinking something brown from a glass and staring into the fireplace, though it was empty. Grandma busied herself knitting in her rocker, and the radio played an old Glenn Miller tune crackling through static. "Don't wander too far into the cornfield," Grandpa said suddenly, his voice low but firm. I looked up from the old comic book I'd found under the coffee table. "Why not?" "Things get strange in there," he said, sipping. "Easy to get lost. Even easier to get found by something else." Grandma gave him a sharp look. "Don't fill the boy's head with nonsense, Jack." "I'm not," he muttered, eyes still fixed on nothing. He should know. That night, I lay in bed listening to the wind scrape dry leaves across the window pane. The crickets chirped in unison, but beneath them, I could swear I heard whispering. Faint. Breathless. It came and went like the wind, but it always returned, especially when I closed my eyes. The next morning, I wandered the property. I loved the barn, the rusted tools, the smell of hay, the pigeons flapping in the rafters. But the cornfield drew me most. Its rows stood impossibly tall, the leaves brushing the sky. The stalks swayed gently, though the air was still. I stood at the edge and stared into it. It stared back. I stepped in. The world immediately shifted. The sun dimmed, muffled by the leaves. The air turned cool and heavy. The soil was soft beneath my shoes. Each step forward muffled the world behind me, until I could no longer hear the birds or the distant hum of the tractor. Then I heard it again, the whispering. It didn't sound like wind anymore. It sounded intentional. Like syllables twisted just beyond recognition. I spun around and ran back, crashing through stalks, ignoring the scratches on my arms and face. I burst into the open, panting, and found Grandma on the porch, hanging sheets to dry. "You all right, honey?" she called, squinting at me. "Yeah," I said. "Just got turned around." She nodded, but I caught the tightness in her smile. She knew something. That night I couldn't sleep. The whispering was louder now, closer. It seemed to seep through the walls, rise from the floorboards, creep into my ears. I buried my head under the pillow. Then I heard footsteps. Soft. Barefoot. Moving past my bedroom door. I sat up. "Grandpa?" No answer. The hallway was dark, but I could just make out a shadow moving past the crack under the door. I waited, heart pounding, but it never came back. The next morning, I asked Grandpa if he'd been up. "Nope," he said, buttering toast. "Slept like the dead." He glanced at me. "Did you hear them?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He leaned closer. "If they call to you again, don't answer. Not out loud." Days passed, each stranger than the last. I began seeing figures in the cornfield, just at the edge of my vision. Children, I thought. Always just far enough away that I couldn't make out their faces. One afternoon, while exploring the barn, I found an old photo nailed to a beam. It showed 6 children standing in front of the cornfield. The photo was yellowed, water damaged. The children looked solemn, their eyes too dark. Something about the angle of their necks, they were tilted, as if listening for something behind them. I brought it inside. Grandma's knitting fell from her lap when she saw it. "Where did you find this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "In the barn." "Who are they?" She stared at it for a long moment. Then, quietly, she said, "They were local children. They went missing, years ago. All within one summer. Police never found them. Your grandpa boarded up the barn after the last one." I looked at the photo again. One of the children, small, with freckles, wore a t-shirt with a dinosaur on it. Just like the one I was wearing that day. I dropped it. The next night, I was woken again, not by footsteps, but by a whisper, clear and deliberate, just behind my ear. "Come see." I turned, but no one was there. My window, though, was open. The wind blew the curtains like beckoning hands. Drawn by something I didn't understand, I left the bed and slipped downstairs. The house was silent, the clock ticking loud as a heartbeat. I stepped outside. The cornfield was glowing. Not with light, but with presence. The stalks shimmered faintly, as if moonlight passed through water. And standing at the edge, half turned, was the boy with the dinosaur shirt. Me. He beckoned. I stepped toward him. "No." The shout tore through the night. Grandpa burst from the house in his long coat, shotgun in hand. "Get back, boy," he barked. The boy vanished, melting into the corn. I stood frozen, the hair on my arms bristling. Grandpa scanned the field with his gun raised. "They're getting bold," he muttered. "Too bold." He looked down at me. "Inside. Now." The next day, he showed me the root cellar. It was hidden beneath the kitchen rug. A wooden trapdoor led to a small, stone-lined room that smelled of earth and rust. In the center was a ring of salt, and within it, a bundle of sticks tied with red thread, and a rusted old bell. "Every 7 years, they try to come back," Grandpa said. "When the veil's thin. Summer solstice, blood moon, you name it. This is the 7th year." "Come back from where?" He met my eyes. "Wherever bad children go when they vanish in the corn." That night, the storm came. Thunder cracked the sky open, and rain pounded the windows. But it didn't drown out the whispers. It made them louder. They spoke now in a chorus. Voices of children, pleading, laughing, weeping. "Come play," they said. "It's better here. You don't have to grow up." I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Then the whispering stopped. And something knocked on my bedroom window. Not tapping. Knocking. Slow. Measured. I looked. A face stared back. It was me again, or almost me. His eyes were too black, his smile too wide. He was soaked, but his clothes weren't wet. He placed a hand on the glass. "You don't belong there," he said. "You belong here." I screamed. Grandpa burst in moments later, dragging me away just as the window shattered inward. The false me crawled halfway through before the salt Grandpa threw sent him shrieking into smoke. We didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, the cornfield was dead. Every stalk had withered overnight, turned black and dry. The soil was cracked, like something had been burning underneath. Grandpa said nothing. He just nodded once and poured salt at the property's edge. "They'll be back again," he said. "When you're grown. They always come back." I left the next day. I'm 33 now. Married. 1 kid. We're visiting the old farm next month. The corn's high again. And last night, my son told me there's a boy outside his window. He says the boy looks just like me. And he's asking him to come play.